pretty. I've popped in this morning. It's absolutely bitter. You can probably see there's still bits of snow that haven't actually melted away. So what I'm going to do this morning, the trolley that I stand my tripod on to do this filming is my gel plate trolley. And I've decided to take my gel plate trolley down to the house and stay in the warm. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. Here I am in the house then. I've got the small gel plate with the roller and some acrylic, I think that's sky blue Amsterdam paint. I bought down some wallpaper samples, just bits and pieces, and decided to go with this rather large print. And I decide that maybe to begin with, while I'm trying to remember what to do with the gel plate, I'll use that piece of print wallpaper that's now coated in paint in order to make an impression, a transfer onto a piece of watercolour paper. I discovered a few packets of watercolour paper in varying weights and also a pad of acrylic, I think it's 300 GSM paper. So I decided to experiment with all of those. Here I absolutely love using, I remember that I enjoyed using the edge of the roller, and I'm just trying to make a random pattern. It might work as wallpaper in an interior, we will see. I'm putting in white paint now. You can see with my hesitancy, I struggled yesterday to try and think what I do with the gel plate. I've had it put away for too long. This is the problem. If you're not doing something all the time, well, it's the problem for me. I just forget the techniques that work. But in Patience here, I don't wait for anything. I just have to lift. It's a very faint, that is actually a very faint ground, but it can still work. It will still be usable. So I go back to something that did work, which is the edge of the roller making a pattern. And this one pulls off quite nicely. With the addition of the white, it's not as strong as the first. So more white paint went down there and more blue. Oops. At this point, I really enjoyed getting my hands in the paint. I do like to get in amongst it. And I decided that I would leave it quite thick and just pull off with watercolour paper. And then once I've pulled it off, because there's quite a thick amount of paint on there, I could go in with a little tool and put a pattern on it. I push two together here just to see what the effect might be, and I quite liked particularly the one on the right. The remainder of what was left now on the gel plate, and I'm just going in with the edge of a tool that had some crusty green paint left on it, and again I just enjoyed the motion. I could admit here to having a bit of a problem of hoarding. I've got Homes and Gardens magazines. This one is 2016. I do have periods where I go through and get rid, but when they have images that I just adore, I can't let them go. And there are some great things in this one, which was, this was a July edition. So what my intention is to go through some magazines, cut out, I've started on one, anything that I might borrow, I'm going to borrow from my interior magazines. I'll have to take a photo of this because it's such a tiny thumbnail. And I've already started to put down an image on top of that ground. Morning everyone, a new day. And I've had some ideas about testing things out before actually committing to it. So I'm wondering about tracing out. So say for example the pot on my table. If I turn the camera, this might all make more sense. What's that? I could just keep trying different coats of acrylic, but I'm thinking if I want to keep that sort of fresh look to it, if I trace this shape and cut it out on paper, experiment with different pattern and colour on paper, so I could pull in, blue tack it on, and just see what I think I like over a few days. That I've got that in my mind. The gel plate, I'm not a gel platist. I put it away, and then yesterday I thought I can't remember what to do with the gel plate. So it was just me trying to re-familiarise myself with what to do on the gel plate. But I do like this bit of random pattern. And I'm thinking, as a wallpaper maybe, as a ground, it could be the wallpaper for an interior. So I'm just exploring that. I must admit, I do have occasion where I think everything's going along smoothly and I'm in the flow, and then I do have a wobble and I think, what am I actually doing? And I finished the book I talked about last week, Steal Like an Artist, and there's a quote, I'll grab it, let me grab this, it says, that's the porridge timer going off, I'll stop it. So the quote says, don't worry about a grand scheme or unified vision for your work, don't worry about unity. What unifies your work is the fact that you made it. One day you'll look back and it will all make sense. Oh man, I absolutely loved reading that. I just thought that was just what I need, or that is just what I need right now. I kind of think, oh, I've got a bit of this, I've got a bit of that, what am I doing, where am I going? But it's so true, it's all my work. Whatever you're doing is all your work. So it's unified in as much as it comes from you, and things will make sense. Morning everyone. Cutting that bit of wallpaper for the gel plate, I started thinking about having wallpaper around the chair. I'm going to keep this and I'm going to attempt to paint some lines of text here, because I really rather like that. And my brain went to, I think I've showed you this last year, the Shani Rees James, and these amazing, it reminded me of the flocked wallpaper growing up in the 70s at home. And so then I thought, right, have I got a piece of wallpaper? And it really is ridiculous, because the whole time I'm thinking, this is cheating. Why do we think it's cheating? I'm just experimenting. So my tracing paper is A3, is from an A3 pad, so I've got to do it in sections. I don't know how that will work out, but I've cut that side, and you have to remember to cut your wallpaper the reverse way. I'm going to paint acrylic on this piece of wallpaper, and I'm going to see if I can get an imprint down. I've toyed with whether or not to put a very light ground, down first and then go in, and I just can't decide. Right, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put out some black, and I think I'm going to use, as I've got the roller down here, so long as I can get fairly good cover. Oh, I love that already. I haven't put a ground down. Right. To really coat it up. And hope that it doesn't dry out too much in the time that I turn the camera and take it to take it there. Okay. Let's have a look. Oh la la. Oh yes, I quite like that. So I could go in with my paintbrush, and I will, I can darken down. Oh, I really want to, so I'll do this section now. We want it as dark as that, really. So I've pressed in, and now I'm going neat from the tube. I'm just going to go round, see if I can just strengthen in some of this. Now I've got this in, I'm not so mad on the black and white there. But this is really, really good fun. It's something different. It's just something different. Yeah, I think my feeling is that the wallpaper maybe needs to come down lower. So I'll give that a try. I started to feel very precious about this. What am I doing? For goodness sake, this is just a piece of 300 GSM paper. It's not even on canvas. And if it were, I need to push through. I can't get anywhere. Being scared of it. I think what happens when I put the wallpaper on, I was so excited, and then I start thinking, oh, I mustn't ruin it. I've got that down. I've got to be really, really careful of it. But what happens is I start to get scared of it. So I thought to myself, stop being scared of it and just go for it, because it doesn't actually matter. I've photographed the stages, and I could do it all over again if I decide I don't want this intense colour. But I've pushed on, and I do really like this solid black floor. and I'll take my time and try and really just enjoy this. Almost, it's a bit like painting by numbers, just filling in and bringing that black right up, and I'm just freewheeling a bit over there. This is not pleasing to the eye, and I need, where's my, I can experiment. I couldn't decide. I might bring something like that back in. I don't know. I need to do more, I think. As it starts to intensify in colour, I need to do more on the leaves. I think, again, it always comes back to the fact that immediately I get something very strong, I feel more engaged with it. I feel as if now it's coming to life. It's not a beginning, it's underway. Walking Rocket yesterday, came back, and I had about 30 minutes before the light dropped completely, and the impulse was just so strong to see what I could do in that time. When you listen to your impulses, when you take a risk. As a real scaredy cat person, I challenge myself more and more to take a small risk with my artwork. Not with stocks and shares or anything like that, but with the artwork. Come on, take a risk. But the more I take a risk, the more, I know I say this endlessly, but the more you take a small risk, the more you get used to it, the more you break away from that block that says, don't mess it up. I hate that feeling so strongly. And it narrows me in, and I don't want to go like that. I want to go outward. So I don't really know how else to put it into words, but for me, taking a small risk with my artwork helps me to get over the fear of messing up. Take a small risk with your artwork. I know there will be people that will say, oh, I really liked it before, and I liked it before, but I didn't love it. I'm still not finished. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know where this came from, but I'm really glad it did. So today I'll strengthen in some of the cheese plant leaves, and I experimented with some blue up here, which will be gone, and I'll put in a bit more black and tinker around. The other thing I want to do is, as I've made a start on one of the interiors, I'll push on and see what I can get by using the other grounds that I put down with the gel plate. I just pulled over a scrape of white paint, and then I'm going in, because obviously that means I lose some of the pattern, but if I just go in with a wet, that's clean water, and just use some paper towel to pick up some of that paint, you can see that you can bring back where you want to. You can bring back in a little bit more of what was underneath. I will leave that to dry. These might be good fun, these chairs. So let's have a go at just with my pencil. Let's just see. This is a little set of aqua markers, aqua tint markers. I'm drawn to that. on the top. This would be number 53. Going in here then with one of the Aquatint pens to just get a nice quick drawing down. The white paint comes out because it looks too strong to me and I want to just push it back a bit. I used some acrylic straight from one of the mini tubes to put that lampshade in. And again, I can lift paint if I want to on there. The next thing I do, I find nearby a little piece of wallpaper, and remember that I could do a bit of imprinting here. That little piece made me think about a bigger piece, but first I decide to put some window pane. I decide to put a window pane in, and then the curtains can go alongside. Sometimes I think if you've got a very loose drawing, inaccurate drawing, it's nice to have the contrast of a straight line. It just gives a difference. The two things work well together, I think. So I ran over my pencil marks with an Aquatint pen just to strengthen up the window bars. More white paint in areas went down next. Ready for, yes, this is the longer piece of wallpaper, and that makes a good curtain. I can strengthen that up, but I get to a point where the whole thing feels too wet to continue working with, so I leave that one to dry. I'll treat this as a first go. So even small work, I just treat it in exactly the same way, many layers. I'll let that dry and continue to work on those interior smalls. I'm going to strengthen up my leaves. I apologise for the fact that the whole video seems to have centred in this spot this week. It's been too cold for the cabin. If I put extra heat on up there, it causes condensation, and then I have to run the dehumidifier. So all in all, I think I've got my house easel, my new best friend, and I'm quite content here. And with the smalls on the table, which is looking so overloaded, I am going to make an effort on the table. Hopefully once the temperature climbs up, I can get back into the cabin and get back into working on the canvases I've got going on up there. So whether you're on the table, on the easel, in your studio, wherever you are, have a fantastic week, everyone. Take a risk, take a small art risk this week, and I will see you next week, next time. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.